I think Ropel talked about this one there, and he said it's kind of like a recession-proof stock. So as we're, because the folks who can buy this, aren't really necessarily as impacted, and there's wait lists and all that stuff. So that does help whether you're doing super high end or super low end stuff. When you're unsure about the economy. So that's kind of as a backdrop as from the fundamental story type of standpoint. But what I like about this is each one of these bases really kind of getting tighter. Go back to that big cup with handle a couple of years back. So yeah, 40% deep. And then now let's go to each base, the depth of it. Okay, 14%, the next one, 11%. And what was this one again? Okay,
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
So
What a
you can't,
progression.
yeah, you can't ask for more. What that's
Yeah.
doing is saying that the people in there are more comfortable with the price. There's not as much price discovery. So both the folks in there who are shorting and the people who are going long are kind of comfortable at these levels. Now, once you go through an inflection point of which it's doing today, let's go to the daily. That then it should go up to the next level. If you think of the old Darvis boxes. So this is in position as is going over the highs from like a week and a half ago plus about a month ago, those highs. So each one of those levels is important. And of course the ultimate left side high, when it gets through there, that's your technical standard buy point. But I would say this is a solid alternative buy point. The risk with this one is it's in an ADR, so that means it trades overseas and it trades here. So you can tell by the chart, it's very gappy. Like I think you guys were looking at 10 cent earlier during the
Hmm.
news. It's very, same thing. Like, so you got to be careful with your stops. That's the risk because you can get a little bit, um, hurt with just a normal gap down. So anyways, I think it looks really good and the earnings are behind it. So I think this is solid.
I'm really glad you brought this one up, Webby. And part of the reason is obviously that excellent analysis of the corrections within the bases. Now, when we look at the daily chart, we see that the relative strength line has had a character change, and almost 2 weeks ago, it hopped back above the 21 and the 50-day moving averages. Uh, was there an early buy point in your mind when the stock also jumped back above the 50-day nearly 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. So they're retaking the 50-day is a valid entry point. It's not something I ever saw Bill do from memory. Maybe if he was adding to an existing position, but not initiating a position, he was more into kind of not necessarily standard pivots, but alternative pivots. Like he would be buying it today,
Hmm.
and maybe anticipating a little bit yesterday, but really today would be kind of his type of buy. Going through retaking the 50, like what we did with Costco on Swing Trader, which I have a small position in, which we could look at later in the show. We'll just toggle over to for just 1 second because it's a little bit of a different setup
Hmm.
to Costco.
Costco, sorry about that. I was just
Yeah, no worries.
oh, go
It's
there. Oh, so I'm very sorry about that. Let me go. There we
okay.
go.
So this one was retaking the 50-day a few days back. And that's more of a normal way of buying back something that's going through the 50 because it's not in a really tight base with a lot of, short-term overhead. Now let's toggle back over to race and what would have kept me from wanting to buy that moving back above the 50 is the fact that it was, it's just doodling around in this Darvis box, for lack of a
Right.
better word. And so since you've got that going on, you don't really know until you go through a threshold that is going to move higher. But with that said, it's very important to just know, be intellectually honest. And even though that buy didn't work, think back, would you have bought it or would you not have? I wouldn't have bought it, but I wouldn't have said anyone was wrong for not buying it. Just because I like that kind of the Costco type of retake of the 50-day, or we did it with Kava as well on Swing Trader, and I do have a position in that as well. So that's more of a classic way, but I think it looks really good right here.
Totally agree. And it's interesting, Webby, that the group is weak, but you have strength in this one, and a few are back above key moving averages. Why don't one final the question about the monthly chart? It feels like this has been a great stock to hold if you get it at the right moment, and at the same time, from the initial debut on the New York Stock Exchange. We have gone up almost tenfold. So any concern regarding the possibility that it's kind of late in the move? Any thoughts on that?
No, not in this position. Great question. But what Bill would do is if that was accelerated more, like let's say it came out in 2021 or 2020 and had that same type of move, he would ask me, if I were giving this to him, is there really something so special there that warrants this to continue moving? It's already moved from X to, from 50 to nearly 500. What more do you want? Is what he would often say.